Pen break.
God.
Okay, Drew, we're gonna do 2 slides each, right?
Yeah,
Okay, do you want me to start or do you want to start?
you can start since you wanted to study.
Shut up. Okay, so fungi, viruses, protists, and viruses or whatever. So, introduction. Viruses, bacteria, protists, which include algae and protozoa, and fungi are considered to be evolved very early in Earth's history. Very diverse and can be found in all of our planet's environments. They occur in mass numbers. They vary in size, which is microorganisms and macroorganisms, which includes some algae and some fungi. They are acellular, which are the viruses, or cellular, which are the bacteria, some algae, and fungi. Protokaryotes lack nutrients, bacteria, or eukaryotes, which includes protists or fungi. So, pathogenic versus non-pathogenic microorganisms. Pathogenic are disease curing and pathogens, and non-pathogenic are harmless to plants and animals. Not disease curing, disease causing, I meant.
Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Characteristics of viruses. They are extremely small and can be seen via a electron microscope. They have two distinct states, which is active, where a virus is active, and then a viron is dormant. Not living because they don't exhibit characteristics of living organisms. They are obligated. They are obligate intracellular parasites, meaning that they can only survive inside cells of a living organism. They can only reproduce inside a living cell, where the viral nucleic acids replicate using materials of the host cell. Always associated with disease because they need to destroy and damage host cells in order to replicate. However, they can remain in a state of dormancy. For example, the herpes simplex virus, cause cold sores, and chickenpox virus can cause shingles. They have different shapes. So the virus shapes are helical, polyhedral, spherical, complex. Yeah.
Yeah. Structures of viruses. A virus is acellular, in other words, it's not a cell. A simple structure with a core that consists of DNA or RNA, but never both. The RNA and DNA is surrounded by a protein cap or capsid. Some viruses, which is rabies and influenza, is capsid is covered by an envelope of a liquid bilayer, which protects them against the nucleus enzymes of a cell. Full picture. Bacteria. Characteristics. They belong to the kingdom of Monera. They are most diverse and abundant group of organisms on the earth. They inhabit most environments. They are mostly useful. Unicellular and small, which means smaller than a eukaryote cell, but 1,000 times bigger than a typical virus. Vary in shape. Cocky, which is spherical shaped. Bacilli, which is rod shaped. Spirala, which is spiral shaped. And vibroios, which is comma shaped. They can exist single in chains, strepitococcus, or in clumps, staphylococcus. Condition, yeah. Bacteria produce asexually via binary fission which is cell division, in favorable conditions. They can become dormant and form spores with a thick protective coat around them during unfavorable conditions.
so
Full picture.
we know the cocky is spherical, the bacilli is rod shaped, the spirula is spiral shaped, and the vibros is comma shaped. So the structure of bacteria. Bacteria, a protective rigid cell wall that consists of piptoglycans, a plasma membrane that serves as a mitochondrion, endoplasmatic reticulum, and sometimes a chloroplast. Controls the entry and exit of materials. No true nucleus. They have a closed loop DNA that floats in the cytoplasm. Those that cause disease have wavy, waxy capsule as their outer layer. Some have flagella. Singular is flagellum for movement. So, as you know, the stuff sticking out of it, the hair-like things, is called the pillar.
Yo,
The
do you really want to go over the pictures?
nah, protista. Common characteristics: all are eukaryotic. Um, all live in moist environment to prevent drying out. Variable characteristics: they can be unicellular or multicellular. They are microscopic or over 100 meters long. Okay. Heterotroph or autotrophs, grouped in subcategories such as plant-like protists and animal-like protists.
Okay. Plant like protista. So, commonly called algae. Structure and characteristics of algae include simple aquatic eukaryotes, contains chlorophyll in chloroplasts, making them autotrophic. Autotrophic is like when they produce their own food through like energy and stuff. It releases large quantities of oxygen during photosynthesis, mostly free floating, for example, diatoms and spirogyra. Some seaweeds are attached, for example, kelp. Either unicellular, like diatoms, or multicellular, like seaweeds. And they reproduce asexually by themselves.
Mm.
Algae groups. There's green algae, brown algae, red algae, diatoms, and dinoflagellates. Green algae is spirogyra, which is slime found in fresh water, and greasy weeds. Brown algae includes kelp. Red algae is red seaweed found in deeper water along with brown algae. Diatoms, microscopic unicellular whose cell walls contain silica. And dinoflagellates is microscopic unicellular with flagella found in surface waters.
Mm. Then there's animal-like protista called protozoans. Characteristics are they are unicellular. They are heterotrophs, which means they cannot make their own food. Some ingest their food via phagocytosis for intracellular
Yo, dude, you
digestion.
can't say that.
Right. Uh, amoeba or absorb nutrients through cell membranes. Plasmodium. Swim around to look for food. Then protozoan groups. Hold on. Excuse me. So they are amoeboids, ciliates, flagellates, and parasitics. So the amoeboids move and feed through temporary projections called pseudopodia, which are false feet. Ciliates use cilia to swim and capture food, for example, paramecium. Then flagellates use flagella or locomotion for example, Giardia. In parasitic, non-motile, for example, Plasmodium. Plankton refers to the various microorganisms floating in the currents of deep oceans. They are divided into phytoplankton, which are plant-like unicellular protists, algae, and zooplankton, which are bacteria and animal-like unicellular protists, protozoan.
Right, fungi includes yeasts, rusts, smuts, mildews, molds, mushrooms, and toadstools. Characteristics. Fungi are found everywhere, usually invisible to the naked eye. Mostly free floating, no, mostly free living in the soil, air, and dead organic matter. Heterotrophs, feeding mostly on dead organisms and decaying organic matter. Satirotrophic. However, some are parasitic, for example, thrust or athlete's foot. Some live in symbiotic relationships. Lichen, association of fungi and algae. The fungi supplies water and minerals, and the algae makes glucose that the fungi absorbs. Most of them are useful as they are the primary decomposers of dead organic material. Reproduce. They reproduce asexually through spores, sexually when unfavorable conditions via resistant zygospores, and budding or binary fission, for example, yeasts. Structure of fungi. Mostly multicellular eukaryotes, but there are unicellular species, for example, Baker's yeasts. They consists of branch filament called hyphaea that is enclosed by a cell wall of chitin and glycan. Multi-branched tubular cell filled with cytoplasm can either be aseptate, which is continuous, or septate, which is divided into compartments by crust walls called septa. The hyper branches into the hyphaea branches into mycelium, which makes the thallus. When they reproduce asexually, it forms spore-producing bodies. That's a cool looking picture. Diseases: HIV and AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and candidiasis thrush. HIV and AIDS, which is viral infection, tuberculosis, which is bacterial infection, malaria, which is caused by protozoans, and candidiasis thrush, which is fungal infection.
Mm. Then malaria, one of the major public health problems affecting development in the poorest countries. 60% of malaria cases and 80% of malaria deaths happen in Africa, south of the Sahara. Caused by a protozoan parasite known as Plasmodium. It is transmitted by a female Anopheles mosquito, which is a vector. 4 types of Plasmodium, which result in different types of malaria. Cool pictures, man. Effects of malaria. So, physiological effects, typically fever, chills, headaches, muscle ache, vomiting, tiredness, and other flu like symptoms. If infected by Plasmodium, falciparum brain disease, cerebral malaria, severe anemia, and kidney failure can develop. Either results in death or lifelong neurological damage. Frequent malaria infection can lead to the development of anemia due to repeated destruction of the red blood cell by parasite. Babies can be born prematurely or with low birth weight if their mother had malaria during pregnancy. This can be due to destruction of red blood cells, anemia, and clogging the capillaries that take blood to the brain, which is cerebral malaria or other vital organs. Other effects. It is costly to individuals and government. Costs to individual include lost days of work, payment for drugs, expenses for preventive measures, cost to the government, would include purchase of drugs and supplies, loss of tourism income, public health interventions against malaria.
Malaria. Management of malaria. To manage malaria successfully, anti-malarial campaigns must treat the illness and destroy the mosquitoes. Treating the illness. Most effective treatment is a 3-day course using multi-drug treatment that contains Artemisia annua, or sweet wormwood, which is a Chinese herb. Artemisia destroys drug-resistant plasmidioins in the bloodstream. They're very expensive, though. Destroying the mosquitoes. Insecticide-treated nets, ITNs, is a physical barrier to being bitten and traps and kills the mosquitoes. Spraying with DDT functions as an insecticide, irritant, and spatial repellent, minimizing human mosquito contact and killing mosquitoes that come into touch with the treated surfaces. HIV and AIDS. So, infection that affects the immune system. A weak immune system is called a immunodeficiency. A human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, infects and destroys immune systems cells called helper T lymphocytes, CD4 cells, that plays an important role in immunity. Once diagnosed, the person has a lifelong conditions. Effects of HIV and AIDS. Destruction of the CD4 cells leads to the weakening of the immune system. Some symptoms include lack of energy, rapid weight loss, frequent fevers and sweats, persistent or frequent fungal infections, oral or vaginal, painful nerve disease called shingles, persistent skin rashes or flaky skin, frequent attacks of diarrhea, nice guys, white spots or unusual blemishes on the tongue or in the mouth and throat. When CD4 count is less than 200 CD4 cells, ml blood, it is said that the illness has progressed to AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Because of severe weakening immune system can result in a variety of illnesses such as TB, cancer, pneumonia, memory loss, and depression. Sad.
Yeah. And then management of HIV and AIDS. It's critical to reduce the viral load in order to manage HIV and AIDS. This is done by sticking to a strict course of therapy. So treating with antiretroviral aids. What? Antiretrovirals, which are ARVs, should be used when the CD4 count is between 200 and 350. Stops viral replication and allows the immune system to recover. Monitoring viral load. Undetectable viral load equals treatment is working. HIV high increased viral load equals treatment is not working and a new ARV combination should be used. Treating of opportunistic infections. Boosting the immune system. Regular exercise, resting, avoiding harmful substances such as alcohol, avoiding risky sexual behavior, reinfection of different HIV strain. Caring for mental and emotional health, sensible financial planning. HIV drug resistance. Drug resistance is when a pathogen such as bacteria or viruses continue to replicate despite the presence of drugs that usually kills them. ARVs consist of three classes of drugs that attacks the
Yeah,
viruses
dude,
at
I'm not gonna lie to you. Where the hell are we?
HIV drug resistance.
Slide 31.
29.
29. Spooky. Okay, continue.
ARVs consist of three classes of drugs that attack the virus at different stages of replication. If HIV is able to replicate, it will do so at an extremely rapid rate, resulting in mutations. These mutations can lead to the blocking of the working HIV drug, making them less effective or completely ineffective. The development of drug resistance, not taking the
Bro,
HIV
bro,
drugs.
bro. Two
Feel.
slides. Two slides.
My bad.
Because then I'm gonna read 3 slides. Guy, I feel bad.
My bad.
So, development of drug resistance. Not taking the HIV drugs exactly as prescribed. If the ARV levels gets too low in the blood, it can give the virus a chance to replicate freely, leading to the accumulation of mutations. Unsafe sex. Drug-resistant strains can be transmitted even being on the HIV drug regimen. Poor absorption of the ARV drugs lower the level of the drugs in the person's blood, which could lead to mutations. HIV drug resistance. Once a person has HIV, the virus begins to multiply. HIV medications block HIV from multiplying. Taking HIV medicine daily reduces the amount of HIV in the body. If a person stops taking the HIV medicines, the virus begins to multiply again. As HIV multiplies, the virus sometimes changes form, which is like mutants. 4. Some HIV mutations can cause HIV drug resistance. Once drug resistance develops, one or more of the HIV medications that previously controlled the HIV, the person's HIV, are no longer effective. In other words, the HIV medicines can't stop the new mutant HIV from multiplying. Once drug resistant HIV develops, a person must change HIV medicines. Different HIV medicines are needed to block the drug resistant HIV from multiplying. Drug resistant HIV can be transmitted from person to person or develop after inconsistent HIV medicine use. Taking HIV medicines every day and exactly as described helps prevent drug resistance. HIV medicines block HIV from multiplying. Having less
Let me
HIV in the
give me
body
2 seconds. Let
reduces
me
it.
give me 2 seconds. Go ahead. Back to it.
All right. Having less HIV in the body reduces the chances that the virus will mutate and produce drug-resistant HIV. Prevent drug resistance. Take your HIV medicines daily. If you're a loser.
Anyways, tuberculosis. Cutting back to infection affecting mostly the lungs, pulmonary TB. It is contagious disease that is spread via moisture droplets from an infected person in the air, caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, TB bacilli, which is covered with a waxy capsule protecting it against drying out, heat, and being destroyed by the body's immune system, allowing it to remain